And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran.
With this being the stated goal, there should be no wonder when we see what has taken place in most of these countries. It is no accident that each one of those countries has faced Western destabilization attempts over the last decade. Out of the 7 countries that were named in that classified memo by the Pentagon in 2001, there is only one that the neocons did not affect severely, and that is the Islamic Republic of Iran. They started a war and occupied both Afghanistan and Iraq. In Syria, the West has supported a 3-year campaign of death and destruction. In Somalia, CIA-connected terrorist group Al-Shabaab is wreaking havoc in that country. In Lebanon, the United States and its allies continue to sow division and support terrorists who have carried out car bombings and suicide bomb attacks there. In Sudan, the West caused chaos and division, and ultimately the country was divided into 2 separate nations, with the oil-rich region being taken away from the Omar Bashir government. And then there is the Islamic Republic of Iran, which they have been and continue to try to sow division, which reached its peak in 2009, but Washington could not succeed. The chaos you are witnessing is a calculated plan by the West, led by Washington, to destabilize the whole region.
The purpose of the military is to start wars and change governments. It's not to sort of deter conflict. We're going to invade countries, and my mind was spinning. And I put that aside. It was like a nugget that you hold on to. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control.
When this was planned by the U.S., Washington didn't want to directly enter all of these states. They launched 2 wars where they were directly involved in. But for the rest of these countries, they needed to operate a proxy war. And they did this by creating groups to spread terror in the name of Islam. We have seen the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and now we see the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, Al-Nusra Front, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram. Where were these groups before?
دستگاه‌های استکباری برای اینکه به هدف‌های استکباری خودشون برسن، برای اینکه مشکلات خودشون رو پوشیده و مخفی نگه دارن، در میان مسلمانان اختلاف ایجاد میکنن، شیعه هراسی به وجود میارن، ایران هراسی به وجود میارن، برای اینکه رژیم غاصب صهیونیستی رو محفوظ نگه دارن.
Saudi Arabia is the country in the region that bankrolls the West's ventures and most of these terrorist groups. They are responsible for the training and growth of these groups. The Triangle of Terror was formed with the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. The United States trained and led the aggression. Saudi Arabia bankrolled it, and Israel led its Zionist media and public relations focus on image creation. The media was an integral part of the plan and continued to be so in order to fool the masses into thinking that Muslims were jealous of the way Americans live and that the West wanted to help spread democracy and freedom. The controlled media entities would show attacks on Muslims like it was a game. For example, when the war on Iraq began, there was rolling live coverage of the attack, and it was announced in advance for people. It was like looking at a football game as they were rooting for the Stars and Stripes as bombs were raining down on the heads of the Iraqis. Other images that the Zionist-controlled media has portrayed is a bunch of crazy Muslims who are bloodthirsty all over the world. The same media would try to convince us that devout Muslims who would sacrifice their lives would, prior to that, go to the bar and drink and party the night before. This is what they said regarding the 9/11 attacks. The same powers that be would create these terror units and portray them as Muslims who just couldn't wait to go to heaven and join Houris. Thus, they would kill themselves in suicide attacks. These are creations by the Triangle of Terror, the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, and trying to expand their cause of death and destruction and control in the region. This while at the same time destroying the name of Islam. But they will not be victorious.